Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man on the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, maybe you could tell from the thumbnail I used in this video, maybe you couldn't, that this is my response video to the Lenormand based video that I did earlier this week. What do I mean? I've started my year-long deep dive into the Lenormand. And just as in the past, when I did a Tarot de Marseille style reading to draw a central message out of my larger spread of the week, I'm doing that in a different way these days. I put a poll up on the community tab. Probably you already, hopefully you participated in that. And I gave several options of how you wanted me to handle this second video, my response video, the video that will help us to glean a perhaps more central, a more specific message from the larger spread. And there were several options that I offered, and the overwhelming majority of you selected this option. One in which I would alternate between Tarot de Marseille and another system. So for example, 1 week Tarot de Marseille, next week Thoth. The next week Tarot de Marseille, the next week maybe a Smith-Waite. The next week Tarot de Marseille, the following week maybe a Continental Tarot. And then another Tarot de Marseille. Yeah, that makes sense? So, since that's what you chose, that's the way I'm going. And last week I did a Tarot de Marseille response video, so this week I'm using another system. I decided to go with the Thoth for this week. And before I show you the spread, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who hit those thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You're a blessing to me and to a lot of other people. Thank you for doing that. Also, I highly recommend that you go watch the first video of this week before you come and watch this one, because this one is a response to the first video, to that Lenormand video. Because the question that I ask here is, what is the central message of this week's Lenormand spread? And so for you to understand why I'm reading these cards the way I'm reading them, it's helpful to know the platform from which we are leaping, the basis, what is the environment that we are reading this question in. So I'll put a link in the description, I'll put a link up here, a card for you to click on and hop on over and watch that video first. And you don't have to watch any of these videos in one sitting. You can watch them in 5-minute bits, chunks, 10-minute chunks, your choice. There's no tarot police out there going to track you down and say, you've got to sit down and watch the whole thing all at once. Right? So feel free, feel limber, but do that. Watch that one first and then come watch this one so that you get it. Just in case you have done that, let me remind you that the title for that video was Do What You Love and Love What You Do. And it was about our passion, the journey that we are on with our passion projects, with our side hustle, the thing that we do because we love it, not necessarily for the money that we get from it, which might be different from our 9-to-5 job, right? And it was a very interesting spread, very interesting, especially because we were advised to at once follow our heart, because there's a potential for some anxiety getting in the way of our passion. And that anxiety drowning our passion out in a sea of emotion, which makes our opportunities difficult to manifest. They makes our opportunities and the potential resources that we have only imaginary. Right? So, that was a very complex, a very intricate reading, I believe. Maybe this spread is going to help us nail it down a little bit. So what are we going to do? I'm going to show you the entire spread, and we'll talk about the decks. I'll talk you through the spread generally, especially just in case you are new to this channel. And then we'll break the spread down into its two major parts and read those parts together. Okay? So, friends, here is the spread for this week. What do you think of these decks? Do you have these decks? They're both mass market. And full disclosure, I bought okay, so what am I trying to say? There were 3 cards above from a tarot deck called the Sun and Moon Tarot. There'll be a link in the description box if you want to go get this deck. It's an interesting deck. I purchased this deck because I heard people say that it was a Thoth deck. And so I thought, cool. It had a little bit of a whimsical feel to it. The artwork looked very interesting, a little whimsical, a little bit playful. And I thought, cool, a playful, whimsical Thoth deck. That sounds fun. So I ordered it. And I didn't really use it. I just actually got it in a couple months ago. And so I thought, okay, I'll pull it out for this reading. Let's dive into this deck. And I shuffled it and I looked at it and I laid a spread, and this is what I was struck by. Is it a Thoth deck? I would say, yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't think so. What it looks to me like is an RWS deck that is trying to look like the cool kids, trying to put on the clothes of the cool Thoth kids, yeah? But clearly, its image is not Thoth. Its image is RWS. Why do I say that? Well, okay, so it's got the titles for a Thoth deck, basically. It's also got a little bit of the titles from an RWS deck, just saying. Excuse me. It does not have the astrology on the deck, but there is the astrology in the guidebook, so that's helpful. The guidebook does point towards Thoth, but the images on the cards are so RWS, it just makes me want to say, dude, pick a lane. Yeah? It really does feel like an RWS deck trying to look cool like a Thoth deck, if that makes sense. So, I'm not trying to diss this deck. I'm not trying to put this deck down. And I think I will continue using it. And I will use it. I will choose to read it as a Thoth deck, even though it screams RWS from the background. And you'll see what I mean, I think, in just a moment. Okay, so those are the 3 cards above. Now, they are in a positional spread, which means that each card is a response to a question or a prompt. The top left-hand card is the... Is that left for you? Or is this left for you? Oh, I've got this all backwards. Anyways, the top left-hand card for you, it was the art card. And then we had the Hanged Man. Now, okay, the first card, I'm sorry, I got myself all twisted around. The first position is for the significant answer to the question, what is the central message of this week's Lenormand spread? The first card responds to that question. That's the one on the left. The one in the center, that is the challenge. That can be a positive challenge, something we want to reach for, something we want to strive for, or something that could be standing in our way, that is blocking our path. And then the third card, the one on the right, is the advice. Significance, challenge, advice. Then we had two cards below. Now these are from what's called, think the title is the I Ching Oracle. There will be a link in the description box below if you want to go get this deck. It's a really crisp, clean, the art is practically, I think it's like 3 colors. You have black, white, and gold. Or maybe there's a little bit of red. Really crisp, imaged oracle deck. And I like using I Ching oracles with the Thoth Tarot because, I don't know if you know this, but Harris-Crowley incorporated the I Ching into his Tarot deck. Specifically into the court cards. He linked each one of the court cards with an I Ching hexagram. And so that's why I like to use the I Ching along with my Thoth readings a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. And so that's what I'm doing here. And those two cards from the Oracle deck, the I Ching Oracle, they will give us either advice or they'll add another layer of meaning to the 3 cards above. Does that make sense? Okay, friends, so what are we going to do? First, I will show you the 3 cards from the Thoth deck above, and we'll read those together. And then we'll move on to the 2 Oracle cards, okay? Well, here are the 3 Tarot cards right now. You saw from left to right, we had, excuse me, the art card, the Hanged Man in the challenge spot, and then for advice we had the 10 of discs, right? Now, right off the bat, let's look at this art card. You see that not only is the title Art there, but we also have the title Temperance. And the whimsical figure here looks to me 100% almost like a Smith-Waite Temperance image, right? You see the figure, one foot's a little bit in the water. We got the 2 cups, pouring water from one to the other. However, we do see that the figure is dressed in, instead of being white and red, for some reason this artist decided to choose black and white. Which is, I think, unfortunate because the choice of white and red is a very deliberate alchemical association to the Red King and the White Queen coming together to do the alchemical work. Linking that card to alchemy. Here we got the idea of yin-yang, so white and black, the active and the receptive, right? So that's a little bit too bad. But we have the Hebrew letter up there. We also know that in the guidebook, the art card is associated with Sagittarius, which is the domicile of Jupiter. So we know that mutable fire's vital attributes are entering our reading here. Mutable fire. Now, our passion. Gathering things up and getting ready to be the front runners. Now, breaking out into new territory with our passion and our desire to explore. Also, art joins Tippereth and Yesod. So it joins our heart with our foundation. It joins beauty and, again, foundation. Yeah, the thing that manifestation leaps from. We also get the Hebrew letter Samek, which is right up there. Yeah, which is a support or a prop. Could also be a fish. But it's something that we can lean upon. Something. So this art card is something to support us. Something we can lean on. Now, the matching rune would be Agiz, which kind of looks like a Y with an extra poker, it's like a trident formed like a Y. So we got the three things in Y shape instead of curved, right? That's Agiz, which is the rune for the horned god. Yeah? The horned deity, which is the deity of protection and also openness and happiness and life force. So we have something to lean on, and we've got our vital life forces here, our openness, but also feeling protected, or our ability to protect others, and our happiness are all here in the art card. Now for Crowley, the art card is combining things, doing alchemy. Yeah, it's also working with others, and working with others to create a synthesis, a process. It's the result of planning and accuracy. It's success after maneuvering through the process of joining stuff together. There's no need to add anything or subtract anything from the situation. We can make the most of what is because we've got what we need. We bring it together and maybe find a partnership. And that kind of is the central message of this week's spread, Lenormand spread, I believe. And that sense of knowing that we're protected, that we're safe, and that we can be open, and we can find our happiness, and we can lean on other people, or we can lean on the divine, might be able to get us past those anxieties that were potential for this coming week. Right? So this is the significant answer. Do the alchemy. We got what we need. Right? Combine, work with others. And that working with others, that movement towards partnership was also very strongly indicated in the Lenormand reading from this week. The next card, the challenge, is the Hanged Man, which is generally my favorite card and one of my favorite cards in the decks, in all of the decks. This Hanged Man looks almost entirely like a Smith-Waite Hanged Man, except for one thing. So the Hanged Man is the card, let's see, so some of the major arcana are associated with zodiacal signs, some are associated with planets, some are associated with elements, and the Hanged Man is associated with the element water, which is a downward pointing triangle, which is what the hands of the Hanged Man have formed. Do you see that? So this is kind of a little bit, has a fragrance of, I'm cool like a Thoth deck. We also have the Hebrew letter here, Mem, which is a womb. The waters, the womb of life, the waters of the womb. Yeah? So it's the watery birthing space. which is also associated with the rune Iwaz, which kind of looks like an eye with half of an arrow on both the top and the bottom. Go look it up. You'll know what I mean. Now, Iwaz is the rune for yew, the yew tree. And the yew tree is the tree that was used to make bows, right? Of a bow and arrow. Which is interesting because this comes right after the Sagittarius sign, which is, what is Sagittarius? It's a centaur with a bow and arrow, right? So, interesting. The Iwaz is also the rune for wisdom, endurance, and initiation. Already really positive things. So we've got the birthplace of the waters of birth. We have wisdom, initiation, passing through the waters of initiation as well, maybe. The Hanged Man joins Gebra and Hod, which means what? On the tree of life, Gebra is severity, and Hod, they're both on the mother pillar. Hod is the Sephira of... Now there are two ways of reading Hod. There is splendor. There's also surrender. And I prefer to read Hod as surrender. Yeah? It's where its partner Netzach is the one who is victorious over obstacles by fighting against them. Hod is the one who is victorious over obstacles by surrendering to them and moving past, like water. Yeah? So this joins our severity to our surrender to the situation at hand, which is a very good thing for the Hanged Man, right? Because what is the Hanged Man? It's us being stuck to an old way of viewing the world, but now topsy-turvy. Yeah? We've got, our perspective has been turned upside down, right? Our ideas of self-sacrifice and redemption have been outdated. What we thought we've been sacrificing in order to become more fully who we want, to become more in line with our purpose, maybe, we realize that that idea is no longer viable. And so we need to grow from the water. And some of that growth could imply sacrifice. We might need to sacrifice the old. We, on the other hand, might find ourselves being unnecessarily self-critical, which was also indicated in this week's Lenormand spread, that we might fall into the trap of anxiety and worry and perhaps self-criticism. So the challenge, the negative challenge, the thing that might stand in our way is that self-critical, self-harming thought patterns that might be indicated here. The thing that is the positive challenge is to let it go, to let go of those anxieties, to let go of our grip on our old paradigm and open up to the new one. Because there's something of the old that needs to be drowned in order to fertilize the earth. The earth where our potential seed is growing. We must process change through death to release the old. That's our challenge. The positive challenge is processing the death of the old to be able to move on to the next, to be able to move on our journey. not the next, but the same journey, to be able to continue on our journey. We gotta allow the perspective to change, the paradigm to change, to allow the old to drown out, to fertilize what is growing, without turning into why aren't I successful? Why doesn't this work? What's wrong with me, right? And so the advice is the 10 of discs. Yeah, the 10 of discs, which is right up here. We got the title, Wealth. It's a Thoth title. And can we see? We do not see the zodiacal information in the card, but it is in the guidebook, right? The 10 of discs is associated with Mercury in Scorpio. Mercury in Scorpio. I'm sorry, just a moment. So what is that telling us? What is the image telling us? Okay, so this image is not Rider-Waite-Smith really, but it's not a Thoth image either. We got this nod to the tree of life. So in the Smith-Waite deck, on the 10 of Pentacles, not discs, but the 10 of Pentacles, which is the Earth suit, there are 10 pentacles that are in the shape of the tree of life. In the Thoth deck, the 10 of discs, the 10 discs are in the shape of the tree of life. And so we got this couple clutching onto this tree of life, I guess. So it's interesting, it's cute, but I don't know, man. So we're still going to read this as the Thoth card I want it to be, and so it is wealth. And what does that imply? The advice is that wealth and its application is possible here. What does that mean? We want to look intelligently at what we can accomplish with the wealth and the world that is available. Now, with the resources that we have, with the environment that we're working in, we want to intelligently look at all of that and see what we can accomplish with all that stuff that we've got, which remember, that was part of that art card as well. We've kind of reached the end of a cycle, Hanged Man, the end of a matter, which implies the beginning of the next leg of the journey. We've got resources, but there's not much future in the resources that we have as they are. We have a wealth of time, of money, of love, of resources, but it has all been received. So the question is, what are we going to do with those resources? That's what this card is asking us. What are we going to do with those resources? Are we just going to stand there and hang on to them, clutch them like these two people? After accumulation, it must either become inert or be put to use with intelligence. Which do you think is the best? The advice is to figure out how to put the resources that we have to good use in the environment that we are working in. Yes? It's also the sum total of all the work that we've done so far and how that is now the platform from which we will continue on our journey. So this is a really interesting spread, and I think it reflects a lot of the information that we got from the Lenormand spread, and it makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, and we can see where that potential anxiety can spring up here. So, we've got two cards from the Oracle deck to dive into. Let's see what information they're going to tell us. Here they are right now. The two cards you saw from the Oracle deck were, from left to right, card 40, well, you probably could not see the numbers on the cards because those numbers are itty bitty and they're in what would, so in traditional Asian art, and I'm using that when I say Northeast Asian art, in traditional Northeast Asian art, which includes Korea, I believe China, and also Japan, artists would not sign with like brush strokes, but would sign their artwork with stamps. So each artist, or actually almost everyone, would have their own stamp. And usually that stamp was used with red ink. So if you look at this thing here, that thing down there in the corner, that is a stamp. And in that stamp, we see at the very, very bottom of it, the number. The number is small, but it's there in red. So again, the first card is number 41, and the next card is number 29. Now, unfortunately, the cards don't give us the titles. And honestly, I don't remember if the guidebook gave us titles either. To use this deck, I'm combining several resources. Now I've got the guidebook here. I've also got a guidebook from another I Ching oracle that has a much busier, a much more lush artwork on it. But I wanted to give this one a try and maybe try and figure out why the artist chose these images to place on each one of the cards. Now, the thing in gold, that is the hexagram. I get that. That's the point. The gold is the point of the card. But why did the artist choose the other parts of the image, the black and then the red parts of the image? So there's like a red sun looking thing besides the red stamp. And that red sun is placed differently in different cards, and I haven't really figured out the reason for that. Might be just an aesthetic, but there might be more meaning there. But let's see, the first card is number 41, which is this one. Now the title of this is Loss. The Chinese name, I think, is Sun, which is, the hexagram is mountain over marsh. So it's an earth thing over a water thing. So it's what? Picture a marsh right below a mountain. Even if something is lost, something else can be gained. That was from a different guidebook, yeah? A marsh beneath a mountain. So things can get lost inside of the marsh, but there's a mountain there that allows gain as well, right? So this hexagram reminds us that we need to give up something to get something else that's even better. What might benefit us in the long run, rather than what feels easier right now. And that seems like a really good, strong piece of advice that comes from this entire reading, right? It's telling us to stay genuine and trust the process. Things will work out. Which is interesting because the title sounds really negative. Yeah, things are going to, and yet we get the idea things are going to work out. Just don't allow the things that need to get lost. Right? So this is a card for patience, staying power, working on ourselves, seeing the bigger picture, and not being afraid of letting go sometimes, because better things will be on the horizon. Yeah? So this loss of things that might cause nostalgia and, oh, but why do I have to let go of this thing that I'm very familiar with and that maybe has made me happy, but it's old now, it's outdated, it's time to let it go. Why? So that we clear space for what is to come. So this is a fair, kind of neutral, but neutral positive, I would say, the hexagram. And that's followed by, and what do I see on this card? I see a person trapped in a whirl, a tornado. What it looks to me like is being uprooted, but the meaning of the hexagram allowing that. No, but see, that's not, this is water, it's not air. I don't know. So I need to work on if you can figure that out, how this artwork matches the meanings that I just said. If you get it, let me know in the comments below. Help me out, please. I love the deck. I love the images. I'm still working on matching the meanings to the cards, to the images. This one is darkness. And the first, I don't know if you know those Dharma paintings from China and other East Asian cultures, traditional East Asian, Northeast Asian cultures. The Dharma, the kind of fat guy sitting on the ground. For some reason, that central splotch here reminds me of him, which is interesting. I'm not sure it's meaningful. This is this is hexagram number 29. The title of 29 is Darkness. The Chinese title is Kan, I think, and it's water over water. So you see the top 3 lines and the bottom 3 lines all are both the same trigram, right? It's water over water, which symbolizes water repressing danger and uncertainty. It symbolizes water repressing danger and uncertainty in the darkness. So it's telling us to remain alert, to stay committed to our beliefs, and have resilience to confront challenges. Because there is that surrounding darkness, maybe, but we have the potential light from within, maybe. So it's delving into risky and uncertain territories, holding on to our original intent, yeah, and manifesting honestly. You can safely navigate through this darkness if you follow your truth, your heart. It's the importance of determination and courage when facing adversities and not shying away from challenges. For example, the challenge to let things go and to move on, to discover the new. Be like water when facing obstacles. What does that mean? What does water do? It either goes around, it finds a way through or under or over. It doesn't have to destroy the obstacle. It can over time, but it doesn't have to destroy the obstacle. It can work its way around. It will always work its way around. And maybe understanding whatever the problem is from within will help us. But flow through, be like water. Flow through. And remember, the hanged man is water, right? The hanged man, which we saw above, was water. letting go of the old, allowing it to fertilize the new. So what do these two cards together tell us? What I'm getting, I don't know what you're getting, what I'm getting is that we need to let go. And that might feel like a loss. And loss might feel like darkness. It's a challenge. But if we remain alert, we stay committed to our beliefs and have a resilience. We hold on to our initial intent, whatever our intent is with that side hustle, that passion project, that thing that we love to do. Hold on to the initial intent. With honesty, we'll be able to navigate this time of losing that stuff which needs to be lost in order to move into the direction or into the path around whatever feels like an obstacle into the direction that we want to be moving in. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments below. How would you read this spread? What struck you? What landed home for you? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to thank you. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button, for subscribing to the channel. You are a blessing to me and to many, many other people. Truly. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. Shoot me an email to thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. We'll hook up. That sounded weird, I'm sure. We will find a space where we can communicate and get you a reading outside of prying eyes, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm having a harder, as time goes by, I'm having a harder time saying anything. So let's wind this up. Friends, thank you. Now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.